There are machines that live in the background, and then there are machines that rip through time itself. The 2026 Toyota FJ40 Cruiser Pickup doesn't arrive. It materializes like a verdict. A thunderclap dressed in steel. A shadow carved into daylight. Look at it once and you understand. This is not nostalgia. This is resurrection with teeth. It stands in front of you like a monarch in armor, shoulders squared, body flared, a cathedral of steel, elevated on colossal wheels. Painted in golden sunlight, it doesn't glow, it burns. The grille, black and severe, stretches across its face like a scowl that never softens. Above it, the Toyota name isn't just lettering, it's scripture, cast in bold across a mouth built to swallow roads whole. Headlights stare like unblinking sentinels, sharp halos of quiet menace, while the bumper is less protection and more declaration. Nothing fragile belongs here. Step back and you see the stance wide, tall, immovable. Tires thick as fortress walls, treads like war paint, each one ready to claw through rock, sand, mud, or asphalt without apology. The front fascia pushes forward, a predator leaning into its prey, a silent promise that speed is secondary to domination. And yet, it has the grace of something sculpted. The lines not just brutal but purposeful, flowing from hood to bed with a rhythm that feels less like design and more like inevitability. Inside, the story shifts. Where the exterior growls, the cabin whispers. Open the door, and the world outside dulls. You step into atmosphere, not interior. Leather stitched with precision, brushed steel catching fragments of light, technology humming beneath the surface like an orchestra tuning before the storm. The seats don't just hold you, they grip you, throne-like, making sure you understand this isn't a ride, it's a reign. Screens glow with subtle authority, information presented with elegance, never excess. You don't get lost in menus, you get anchored in command. And then comes the motion. Twist the ignition, and the 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6 surges away, quiet at first, a pulse beneath the skin, then rising into a growl that fills the space like an organ in a cathedral. Over 400 horsepower. Torque enough to drag mountains back into the sea. You feel it not just through the wheel, but in your chest cavity, reverberating like a second heartbeat. And when it moves, it doesn't sprint, it storms. The acceleration is less about speed and more about inevitability. Roads stop being obstacles and start being swallowed, one after another, until distance feels irrelevant. Here's the turn. You'd think something this powerful, this oversized, would feel crude. It doesn't. Toyota has engineered it with balanced steel bones, but nerves of silk. The suspension doesn't just absorb terrain, it erases it, letting you glide across brutality without ever flinching. Steering is sharp, deliberate, a reminder that beneath its brawler physique lies a surgeon's hand. On highways, it feels like a shadow slipping between lanes, quiet power disguised in monstrous size. Off-road, it transforms into a predator in its natural habitat, climbing, clawing, and conquering, with an ease that borders on arrogance. And that's when you realize the emotion creeping in. This isn't just utility. It isn't just a truck. It's a memory reborn. The ghost of the legendary FJ40 re-engineered for a world that thought legends were done. It bridges generations, your grandfather's stories in one mirror, your own reflection in the other. There's something primal in the way it moves, something sacred in the way it stands, something eternal in the way it refuses to be ordinary. Price? Expect it to command at least $55,000 at launch, because anything less would be an insult. Release? Early 2026, but that feels almost irrelevant. The date doesn't matter. The moment does. The moment when the first one rolls off the line and someone, somewhere, sees it for the first time and forgets to breathe. Legacy is a word thrown around too easily. But here, it fits. Because the 2026 Toyota FJ40 Cruiser Pickup doesn't just honor history, it weaponizes it. It takes the myth of the original and bends it into steel, rubber, and fire for a generation that refuses to look backward but craves authenticity. It is both past and future, predator and monument, shadow and flame. And when the engine cuts, when the dust settles, when it sits in silence beneath the weight of its own presence, you understand the truth. This isn't just a pickup. This is the machine that reminds the world what Toyota can build when it decides to build a legend. The 2026 FJ40 Cruiser Pickup. Not a return, not a remake, but a rupture in the timeline. Look at it once, and you'll never see roads the same way again.